Hi, this is Steve. I thought I'd go over today my decision to get a Byrd Tool Shelix head for my jointer. I started out, I'm just learning about jointers and planers, so haven't really used them too much before. I had a small bench top jointer and it did a good job, but the table was only about 30 inches long and it was very lightweight aluminum. And I have some long big boards I'm going to be putting through there, and I was just wondering if a cast iron jointer might do a better job. So I found one on Craigslist. I used Grizzly 1182, and it has a 46 or 47 inch table, so a lot bigger. It's cast iron, a lot better, hopefully, and I decided to get that and sort of upgrade, even though it's sort of an older jointer. So I went to tuning it, and the blades, besides having big huge nicks in them, they were 10 to 15 thousandths of an inch off in the settings. So I got my one-way multi-gauge and was trying to set them better, and I just spent time and time and time, and after an hour and a half I'm just no closer to even getting started with this than I was ever going to be in the first place. So I went and looked some stuff up about the jointers, and there's people saying they'd rather pour wood glue in their hair and let it dry rather than have to set the jointer blades. And that's all, I think, the ones without the quick set method or whatever they call it. Either some sort of jack screw or something to be able to adjust the blades up and down, because once you start tightening the blade, it moves 10 or 15 thousandths of an inch right there, and it's just massive frustration. So I kind of gave up with that, did the research, and then I thought, well, I'd kind of seen those Byrd Shelix heads before, and everybody says great things about them, so I thought, oh, hey, look, they got it for this one, and I went ahead and ordered that so I could try it out. So I got a gear puller to pull off the pulley and then the two bearing covers off of the old head, and I went ahead and ordered new bearings with the Byrd Tool Shelix head so that they would just be brand new. I wouldn't have to worry about those. I'll have a link down below for the gear puller and the one-way multi-tool if anybody's interested in looking at what those are. So after I ordered the Shelix head, a couple days later I got an email saying that they had received my order, and even though they have this in stock, it wouldn't be shipped for about 2 weeks. They said they had quite a backlog and that they go over it with an extensive QA process to make sure everything is perfect with it. The heights of each of the cutting tips are perfect, and the balance, they check that, and if necessary, adjust that. After that, then it took about a week to get here, so it was, a little over 3 weeks, I think, before I got it. And when I first opened the box, it kind of struck me as odd that one of the tips was hanging way off the end. I remembered about, they had said one of the tips would not be at a diagonal, and it would just be at a 90 degrees, and that was just on the very edge if you do rabbiting with the jointer. I don't know how you do that even. I haven't learned about that part yet. But I thought, well, maybe that's it. But then I realized, oh, this is on the back side because it had the longer section for the pulley on that side. So I didn't really think about it more because I don't know that much about them, and I'd never even seen one of these Byrd Tool Shelix heads. So I put on the bearing covers and put the pulley on and set it in place, and that's when I first noticed that it was hitting. So I'll show you a picture here. You can see the cutting tip is right up against that bearing cover, and if you turn the cutting head, when it goes around to the bottom part, it hits the cast iron on the jointer. So I sent ShelixHeads.com an email, that's who I bought it from, and explained this to them, and they said, okay, we're forwarding this to Byrd Tools, and they'll have someone look at it there. And the next, I think it was 2 days later, I got an email back, and it said, oh yeah, we see the problem. It is sticking too far off the edge, and we looked at the rest of our batch, and they're all like that. So he had said what I could do is either cut part of that off with a Dremel tool and grind the tip that was sticking too far off so it wouldn't hit, or I could wait until if or when they ever made any new ones for that jointer, then they would replace it. So I went out and got the Dremel tool and ground off part of that, which was a little difficult because when I got to the corner of the tip, you know how the Dremels, like as they're spinning, they like to follow the direction of the spin. When it got to the corner, it spun right across the front of that thing at least twice when I was trying to grind the side off. So that just made me realize that just wasn't going to work, and besides, if I do that, that only gives me 2 cutting tips. If you rotate those, you can use all 4 cutting tips eventually. So you start off they have little numbers on them. You start off with 1, and you know, as you either chip 1 or they go dull, you can switch them to 2 and then 3 and then 4, and then you have to buy new ones. Well, I would only have 2 positions to switch this to if I grind one edge off. And he said he would send me a few to last a few years if I decided to go that way. And then I thought, well, what about after a few years? You know, I've got to buy them, and I only have half the life of everybody else gets. And then I could wait for if or when they come up with a new batch of these, which sounds like, you know, maybe 2 years or 2 decades or never. They might not ever come out with any more of these. So that really turned me off of the whole thing, and I sent him an email and said, you know, I really don't like either of these options. I would just rather just get a refund at this point. They didn't really go for that right off the bat. He said he would send me another one, and it was very confusing because I'm talking to shelixheads.com, and then he's having me talk to the Byrd Tools guy, so I've got 2 different guys talking to me. Finally, the shelixheads.com guy said, oh, you know, yes, okay, well, you can send it in for a refund if I can get it set up with Byrd Tools so that they'll pay for the shipping. And it's just like, why don't I just talk to 1 person instead of 2 people? It's just making it more confusing, because after he said I could get a refund, the Byrd Tools guy emails and says, oh, I'll send you a different head. Oh, I gotta look and see if I have one. Well, how's he going to send me a different head if he doesn't even know if he has one yet? And this is days later. Days have gone by. And I need to use the jointer. I've got projects I want to do. I'm going to start on a workbench soon. It was just falling apart, and their QA isn't very good, and their customer support is just terrible. I can understand a problem happening, but the way they handled it after that was terrible. It turned me off of the whole thing, and it surprised me because I thought this was going to be a glowing review of the Shelix heads that Byrd Tools makes. Like everybody else has. They just say how wonderful they are and awesome, and I never will know, I guess. So I decided I'm just going to sell that jointer and recommend that anybody that gets an older jointer, try to get one with the quick or easy set method, where you can set the blades easier than just trying to, you know, set them, and then when you turn the screw it moves, the whole blade moves. That's the older method, and I just couldn't get it to work. I'm sure people have, but not me. So do I recommend the Byrd Tool Shelix head? Sadly, no, and shelixheads.com, I don't recommend them either. The whole thing just was very unpleasant, and I'm kind of bummed out. I wasted pretty much a whole month on my projects by not being able to get going with the jointer. So that's it for today. Pretty soon I'm going to have some videos of me starting out on the workbench, so that's going to be pretty fun. I'll be learning a lot of new techniques. And if you're interested, be sure and subscribe. There's a little icon down in the corner, and thanks a lot.